Dawson Rider Wiki.
Hey YouTube, Dawson Rider here with my review of Uchu Sentai Kyuranger episode 30, and Kyuranger was bringing it again this week, I thought, with another really good episode. It was the official debut of Shishi Red Orion, which basically like, I'm red, but I'm not really, I'm white. That sounded weird. But like, it's just weird to have a ranger designated as a Red Ranger in his name. Like, I know it's because he was the Red Ranger, but like the suit's basically all white. I don't know, it's just funny. But basically, it's his power-up. You know, it's pretty much a staple at this point, although it's kind of a rarity to have the Red Ranger power-up that's like a full-on, like, almost other Ranger-looking suit. Like, the first one was basically Triassic Ranger, and then we had, like, last year, the Duo Whale, and then this. And then there's stuff like Carnival and stuff, which is debatable, because, anyway, that's for, like, another video. But, so that was the debut of this, and I thought it was pretty strong. I feel like there's not a whole lot of details to talk about in this episode, just because it was fairly straightforward. You know, it's basically, we pick up where we left off, where Lucky's injured. They're trying to figure out how they should heal him, and then Tsurugi's like, well, I can heal him with my Kyutama, but it could be risky. And they're like, well, cool, while you figure that out, we're gonna go fight Don and his army, and like stall, and that's basically what happened. They stall, Tsurugi heals him, and then they fight, and you know, Lucky's general luckiness and courage and his cooperation with Orion has most of the lock seed, the Kyutama spawning, and he gets the power up. And it was officially confirmed that he is Orion's descendant, you know, via a conversation between Tsurugi and Orion, and then Orion telling it to Lucky, basically. And the power-up is really cool. I like it a lot. I mean, I like the Kyuranger suits in general, but I like the suit a lot as well. I tend to really gravitate towards the white Ranger suits, and so it looks really neat to me, and I like the way they did it, where it sort of stands on its own, whereas if this could have been believable as its own Ranger, but it also does tie into Shishi Red's regular suit, which I think is cool. I do like the Kyutama. It's a bit big and ridiculous looking, but I really like the sounds of it. I love the jingle. I like how it says "What's up?" I think that's really funny. And it basically has kind of like God modish powers. He seems a bit overpowered. He has that same ability like, I mean, I guess like Carnival had, like, he could use basically the Zord arms, but more closely similar to Kiwami from Gaim, where he could use everyone's weapons. And it's not as impressive in a way as Gaim's, because they're all, like, 9 of them are just ones that you can just change around. You know, it's one of those changeable weapons, although I don't think they do that very often, if ever. But still, like, the only ones that are really different is, like, commanders and stuff like that. So, it's not as impressive, but still, it was a cool fight. And basically, he defeats Don, or so he thinks, and they're like, we have to go to the past, but Orion died. And so, Commander and Champ are staying to pass on the legend. So basically, I mean, I understand this, but also I didn't realize that this was the moment that the legend of the Kyurangers was passed down. I thought it was even predating this, like it had nothing necessarily to do with Dawn, and that the Kyurangers and the Kyutama were just sort of a legend before that, unless it's both and I'm wrong. And if so, like, I guess it's because Ryu Commander knew that there was only 9, is why he starts the legend of 9? I don't know. It's a bit timey-wimey confusing there, but I do kind of dig it, the way that certain things line up, because it's kind of hard to figure out where the original timeline is, but I like how certain things kind of line up because of it. I feel like, given this and the way that this Kyutama debuted, I get a feeling that it's just going to sort of be the mythology that it's just sort of this vague celestial sentience that sort of births Kyutamas and chooses Kyurangers and which ones can become Kyuranger Kyutamas, and there's not going to be any more deeper lore to it, which is kind of disappointing. I would love to be proven wrong, and then we touch on that later, and we still have a little less than half of a series to go, so it very well could be, but given that this sort of sets up like the legend of the Kyurangers a bit, unless it's, I'm wrong / right, and there was a bit more predating it, and then also just the way Orion debuts, I just get a feeling that that's going to be the lore. At least it's kind of like Geoders in a way, where it's like, oh, the Earth just gave us cubes, but a little less weird? I don't know. We'll see on that later. That's kind of here nor there right now. But yeah, so Commander and Champ are staying in the past. I don't really expect that to stick very long. I was kind of surprised, actually, like, especially Champ, who also just had, like, a sabbatical, basically. I don't know, like, I'm curious what their decisions are behind that. Like, doing stuff like that is kind of a neat way of making use of however many people they have, but you would almost expect them to put actors, you know, have the actual physical actors, because I assume, like, the physical actors cost more than the suits and the voice acting? Maybe? I don't know. It just feels like it would. So, because I just always assume stuff like this might be a cost-saving manner. Although maybe it costs more for them because they have to pay the suit actors and the voiceovers. I don't know. But, so that was interesting. I think it would be neat if we actually got a bit to their adventures. Like, probably not a full episode, but maybe like an A or B plot in one episode that focuses on their adventures in the past. But I'm kind of expecting them to return at a certain point, and then we get like maybe either a small flashback or a couple lines about what they did in the past. But I would love to see something on that, basically. But so that's interesting. And then they get back and they're like, oh, everything's going to be changed, even though before like the ending you could be like, well, if everything changed then they never would have been in the position to travel to the past in the first place. Weebly wobbly, timey-wimey, all that stuff. But they return and, you know, Don still rules, everything's still seemingly the same, you know, he's still ruling over Earth, and Balance Naga is still evil. And it probably all ties into his immortality. I kind of hope that there are some differences. I think that would be neat, unless this is the way it always really did happen. But I'm still curious. A lot of people have been theorizing that he maybe got some of the Ho-Oh Kyutama's immortality or something, but whatever it is, it definitely has to do with him being able to reincarnate or regenerate or whatever. But I do hope there is some little differences, which I think would be cool. And I think it's kind of neat with it. I still kind of wish that it was an imposter. I mean, he's still cloaked, but he was cloaked before he revealed it. So I think it would be cool for it to be something like that. Where it's not technically him, it's somebody else. Maybe it's a brother or someone else in the hierarchy or something. I think that would be cool, even though that seems less likely now that we saw Sergei in the past destroy him and then he needed to fight Lucky. So I don't know. But regardless, what point was I getting at with that? I always go on that same tangent about I want it to be someone different. Oh, I think that if it is him, it sets up this kind of neat rivalry between him and Lucky, and him and Sergei as well. It kind of just reminds me of, like, added some depth to the relationship of like Cam and Lothor and Ninja Storm, because they had met in the past now. So I think it adds an extra layer to that, and I hope that's kind of brought up whenever they fight him again, or times they fight him. But yeah, overall I thought this was a very strong episode. I thought it was a strong debut for Shishi Red Orion. I thought it was a strong end to this past arc, and I'm curious to see where it goes from here. It seems now we're going to be focusing on the Naga stuff and then getting to bigger picture stuff, but I really do appreciate how they managed to essentially have two major storylines interwoven like this. The Naga is evil, and then the returning to the past Orion debut. So yeah, overall, good debut episode. I'd give it an 8.5. Anyway, that's about it. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Dawson Ryder, signing out.